Hey everybody, my name is Scott Davenport and welcome to In the Field. This week I'm going out to the Carizzo Badlands in the deserts outside of San Diego.
Yeah, it's that early.
So that little clip there, just to give you a taste of, yeah, sometimes you got to get up really early to get to where you want to be for when the sun rises. There's no magic to it other than the will to get out of a warm bed early in the morning. So, obviously it was off to an early start this morning. A couple of months ago I had gone out to the Anza Borrego Desert in an attempt to get to a particular overlook of the Badlands. And you can see that in one of my previous episodes of In the Field. It didn't work out how I had hoped. So this time around, not wanting to get wedged in the desert again, I went to a different area that has an easier access point to the Badlands. Not as a dramatic overlook, I think, as where I wanted to get, and I will get there someday. But this did scratch the itch I had to get out to do some desert shooting and some of those more almost alien landscapes that start to take shape as the sun comes up over the desert. Let's take a look at the maps and then I'll show you some of the footage from the outing.
So here is San Diego, and to the east, a couple of hours, is the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. At the southern part of it is the Carizzo Badlands. And Badlands are, well, bad. The terrain's rough, nothing grows there. Millions of years ago, it was a flourishing ocean bed. Nowadays, it's a very barren area. The sun rising from the southeast, the direction didn't really matter so much. I was mainly looking for play between light and shadow as the early morning rays hit the hillsides at that low angle. So over on the maps, here is San Diego again, and then out to the east, you can see that the terrain gets pretty rough before it flattens out and goes into a smoother desert farther east. Zooming in, you can see all the different erosion patterns that are in here. And there is some pretty significant changes in elevation. All these different washes and erosion patterns. And you've got these, let me zoom out a little bit there. You've got, one hill after another hill after another hill. I was roughly facing in this direction, and so the sun would be coming up, to my right shoulder. And as the sun came up and lit other areas of the desert, I'd pan the camera around, spin around this way, get something there, walk a little bit farther, turn around, and get some shots of the hills here.
The sun is coming up further. It's still a little dark to come out on the video, but you can start to make out some of the shapes of the Badlands here. And so I've framed up and doing some test shots at f11 using a very wide-angle lens, and there is this scrubby tree, which is very difficult to make out right now, in the foreground to give some sense of scale and depth. So just playing around with the right level of exposure for some pre-sunrise shots. But once that sun comes up over that hill, I'm expecting to have a nice play of light along the ground as well as the hillside. There's a lot of nice textures and small scrub that should pick up some nice orange light. Got enough light now we can see what's going on here. This is an overlook of the Carizzo Badlands in the southern part of the Anza Borrego Desert. And I did some test shots with a wide-angle lens, and the whole Vista thing, it was just boring. It was not working. So I've switched up to my more versatile 18-200 setup here, and right now I'm focusing on this center part where these nice lines come through the different ridges. I'll show you the video here right through the camera to see what the camera is seeing. And yeah, I'm really not going to pay attention too much to trying to capture everything. And as the sun comes up, it's going to be illuminating this hillside over here. There is some nice cloud cover in the sky, and that should catch a few of the colors from the sun once it peaks over the hills. And so yeah, we'll just be out here playing with a few different compositions. And let me show you a little bit of the camera setup here in just a moment.
All right,
Alright, so this is the last exposure the camera gave me, and if I switch over to, well, you can see in the histograms, I'm really blowing out highlights in all the color channels, and sure enough, the blinkies here are not happy. So what the camera is giving me as a metering is not good. It gave me a 20-second exposure at f11. So I'm going to dial that back and take a few more test shots to rein in those highlights. Alright, so I've switched over into manual mode so I can keep my aperture at f11, and I'm dialing back the exposure to 10 seconds. And that seems to be more in line. Even the metering's doing better now. You can see as I switch to 8 seconds, it's saying I'm underexposed. If I go to 13, it's saying I'm overexposed, this little dial right here. So we're going to do another shot, and we'll see how this comes out. Overexposing, and yeah, sure enough, it certainly is. So even with the metering changes, as the sun's coming up, the lighting is changing so quickly, I'm going to have to keep playing with these adjustments and dialing in the exact correct exposure. So at this point, I'm going to put the video camera down and I'm going to work on getting some nice photos. As the sun's gotten higher in the sky, I've switched back to aperture priority mode, and what I'm doing now is I'm bracketing. I'm doing a nominal exposure, which you see here, which you can tell, the highlights are blown, and I'm doing one underexposed at 2 stops under. That's taking the sky in very nicely. So this will, at least for the lighting conditions now, this will be a blending job in post. Sky is great here, foreground's great here. We can blend those together easily at the computer.
The concept that I initially was going for was some anchored foreground element, and then the Badlands just kind of expanding out to the horizon. And thankfully, I had a little interest in the sky with some of those clouds. But when I got on scene, I just couldn't find a good foreground element to anchor things on. And had to change things up, had to call an audible, and decided instead to get tighter and do some more intimate landscapes. And one of the things that's nice about when you tighten up is you collapse distance. So mountain ranges that in reality are quite far away, a half mile apart, a mile apart, start to look much, much closer. And it just gives a different feel to the photograph. So by shifting that up, I really, in my mind, started to think more of these shapes and tones and shadows as almost like an alien landscape. It's not something we normally see, and particularly when the sun is still low in the sky, the lights and darks that play in these hills really do look otherworldly. And I'm going to play that up a bit when I get to post-processing some of these, but I'll be back to do that in a future episode very soon. So my takeaway for this week, tip of the week, is be nimble. It's great to do planning, great to have a concept in your head of when you're going to get out to scene, what you want to shoot for. However, short of you knowing what's there and having been to a place multiple times, you might be met with something you didn't expect, or maybe something that wasn't there that you wanted there. The reverse can happen. You end up with some big tree or a signpost or whatever it is in your scene that you were hoping wasn't there, and so you need to work around that. That's it for this week in the field. I hope you had a good time, and please keep the feedback coming. Questions are great, whether it's through a comment on the blog post, a comment in YouTube, a private email to me through my website. Any way is fine. I appreciate all of you that have given me comments and emails so far. Those really help me better tailor this to give you better information. I want this to be two-way conversation, and so it's not just me in a loft staring back at an empty lens. So hope to hear from you soon. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Until then, keep on shooting.